We're here to talk about a brand who overcame huge physical challenges and now leads the neurology of change for others on the Impact Brand Doctor podcast with Rich Kozak. Check out these rich strategy nuggets that you can use right now.
Hi, this is the Brand Doctor podcast where we positively uplift your brand about possibilities that it can achieve. Are you challenged and need more clarity for your brand? Or maybe you're standing stuck at the starting gate to the next level of your brand. Well, bring your challenges and your vision right here to the Brand Doctor podcast. Today, we are interviewing a phenomenal man who might just change your life. So pay attention. This is Chase Thornock. Hi, Chase.
Hi, how are you?
Chase is the founder of a brand named Magnificence and the podcast of the same name. He speaks and he is counsel to executives to help transform their health in some very positive ways. He has the most interesting story. Chase, let's just get started by you take us back to that transformational moment from the high of highs to the crash.
Sure.
And tell us a little of that. And then I've got some questions for you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, Rich.
Oh, it's my delight.
So I was a young executive. I was fortunate enough to come from a venture capital background, which for those of you who don't know, think Shark Tank, right? And they had a portfolio company that was kind of struggling. They brought me on and pretty quickly I became the CEO of this company as a kid, in my 20s. From the outside, it looked like I was on top of the world.
Congratulations, right? I think.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're able to buy the things and you're able to, whatever. But what ended up happening to me pretty quickly is that my health started to go downhill and I was able to hold it together for a while, but I got to the point eventually where I was needing to be hospitalized. And essentially what had happened was that my intestines had stopped functioning. They weren't able to process food anymore. And so I was wasting away. And I was told that I needed some surgeries and I needed to have all of this done. And they drew my blood and found that my blood was so poor, I couldn't even survive a surgery. I just didn't have the building blocks. I didn't have the protein in my blood to survive this experience. So they put in what's called a PICC line, which is essentially a line that goes to my heart, right? Goes here in the main artery or vein in your arm. They push it to your heart and they put in this concoction of nutrition, right? That I had to deal with. It was a backpack I had to carry around for several months in order to get my blood strong enough to even survive this experience. And there were several more experiences. I went septic on the PICC line. I was just so sick. And
sepsis is a horrible infection.
Yes. It's the point where you get an infection and your body just starts shutting down. Organs start to shut down. That's what sepsis is. And so I pursued every treatment that I could to try to figure it out. There were some medications that were tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to try to treat the condition that I was dealing with. And at the time, I thought it was unfortunate that none of them worked. Looking back, I'm grateful that none of them worked, but that was the truth. They didn't work for me. And so, I kind of went from the high of highs to the low of lows pretty quickly, and I was bedridden. And not only that,
What did they tell you? We got these 16 more things, or did they tell you?
Well, yeah, we just kind of systematically went one by one, and there was a treatment that did help, and it was a steroid, right? And prednisone, essentially. And I remember having a conversation with my doctor, and it's kind of what started opening my eyes to it a little bit. But the steroid was a stress hormone, right? And I said, if I'm so stressed and it's making me sick, why are we giving me more of a stress hormone, right? But it started me down this journey of learning more about my body. And I remember in that darkest place where I was bedridden, I was preparing for the worst. I was, riding my wheel, like all of those things were happening. And there was a spark from that dark place that at first, again, didn't seem like something that was that great. But the answer came, and I see it now as an answer from God. But essentially it said, Chase, the doctors aren't going to heal you. They can't heal you. If you are going to heal, you are going to heal yourself. And like I said, it was interesting because in that moment, I felt dropped on my face, right? I felt abandoned, honestly, because I thought, who am I to heal myself? You know, I have a business background. I don't have
They said they had no more answers for it.
They had no more answers. And the steroids that were keeping me somewhat alive were also killing me at the same time, you know?
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
So when a doctor or doctors say to you, we have no answers for you, what does it mean? What do you know it? What did you think it meant then? And what do you think it means now?
Yeah, that's a great question. My heart goes out to people out there who've had that discussion, right? Where, look, there's nothing else that we can do for you. Because in so much of our culture and our literature, when that happens, it's a death sentence, right? There's just no other options. And back then, again, that's what it felt like. It felt like kind of a death sentence. Like, I guess this is going to get me, right? This is how this happens. And looking back at it, that kind of was the truth anyway, right? They really couldn't heal me, right? Regardless of what medications they gave me or what treatments they prescribed for me, if my body were to heal, it's only my body that heals itself.
That's what you know now?
That's what I know now. And honestly, in discussions with those physicians over time, I'm still great friends with them. I still go fly fishing with a lot of those great physicians, and I love them and everything they tried to do to help me. But looking back at it, and they would agree now, of course they couldn't heal me, right? If you go to a doctor that says they will heal you, it's not, your body is the only thing. It's just a question of what are the conditions required for it to repair.
When you said they said, we have no more answers, I heard the emphasis on we. It's like, we have no more answers.
Yeah.
It's not that there are no more answers.
And that's a great point.
Which is what I'm hearing from you. It's like, I learned there are other answers.
Right.
That I needed to maybe look at a mirror to find
right.
the answers.
Right.
So, wow. So when you're at that lowest of low points, did you ask for help other than the doctors, or did you get any help from outside of you, or is it all from?
Yeah. There was plenty of noise, right? There were plenty of people saying, hey, try this or think of this or, all these different things. And what I came to find out was that I was lacking fundamental trust in my body, right? It had been my enemy up to that point. It had destroyed my career, I felt like. It had destroyed my, obviously my physical health.
Wow.
And even more so, my disease was specifically a disease in which my body attacked itself, right? And so you actually end up with this adversarial relationship with your body. And what I didn't realize at that point was that the answer that I received and the helps that I was looking for was inside of me, right? My body knew of all those things, all the noise, all the doctors, all the stuff. My body knew exactly what it needed, right? And when it saw it, it knew what it should go after. And it was a process of being able to rebuild the trust with the engine that was going to heal. Right? Being able to communicate with that part of me again.
Because you and I talked earlier, I kind of know how the story, not how it ends, because the story is still in the story right now. But I'm going to ask you, what is the highest level wisdom that you have received so far in this journey?
I think the highest level wisdom for me, and also for the people that I work with, is this realization that sometimes we're on these long journeys, right? Whether it's health related, maybe it's even your brand, right? Your business that you're working so hard for. And it represents so much to you. It represents your livelihood, the livelihood of those that you love. When we're on that long journey, so much we're looking often for deliverance, right? We want to be delivered from the things that ail us, the things, the challenges, the problems that are going on. And I think the highest point of wisdom for me through this whole process is that as I was going down that pathway, as I was looking for deliverance of illness, I believed that it was the absence of illness that would create health, right? But it wasn't that. Health and wellness are created in and of themselves and can coexist with illness.
You heard it here. Write it down.
And that journey, you go a million miles and you arrive and you're looking for this answer, and it's not an answer. Like you said, it's a mirror.
How do you believe that people who haven't been on this into the depths, almost gone journey that you have been on can benefit from what you know and what you do?
Yeah. I think that again, looking back, it was such a miserable experience, right? You wouldn't wish it upon anybody.
Take an executive, for example.
Yeah.
Because I know that's one of your audiences that you believe you're meant to serve.
Mm-hmm.
How can a person who isn't gone
Mm-hmm.
or isn't being told your time's up
Right.
can benefit from what you know and what you do?
I think,
Tell me specifically.
yeah, I think for an executive, it's understanding how their ability to create, right? And for some of them, they've experienced this in creating a business, right? And understanding the pain and discomfort that it took for them to create that baby of theirs can be applied to other areas of their life, right? A lot of executives that I work with, they've had that struggle on a business perspective and gone through the pain there, but they're not quite sure how to translate that to their marriage, right? Or to their children. And those pieces feel like they're falling apart, and it feels like a zero-sum game. If I make my business survive, then my family suffers. But I think what people can learn here is that you can create in each of those individual places the wellness, the health, the prosperity that you've learned to create in individual silos. That can be applied to your whole life.
So am I hearing that the concept behind your brand, since this is the brand doctor, what magnificence is, this human body made by God and his image is magnificent, and it can heal itself. Matter of fact, it's made to heal itself. We put it in dysbiosis, or we put it in dysfunction, but it is made to heal itself. What magnificence. But your brand, do you see it? I have two questions, but really probably the most important question is, it's time for you to share that. And I want to talk about your brand. When you think about your brand, your personal brand, the brand of What Magnificence, what you want to do with it, what it does, why you're here and why it's here, what challenges you when you think about your brand?
Well, I think communicating a message is so fundamentally a physical experience is difficult to do, right? It's hard when you think of describing something that you need your body to do, like shooting a basketball. You can describe it a lot, but until you've done it, it doesn't actually become a part of you. And I think that's the difficulty in any sort of brand, and my brand in particular, is how do I transmit these emotions, this feeling of going through these horrible things that we all go through in life, and turning them into something that actually can create the prosperity that you thought was impossible to achieve.
So the challenge is people not understanding, and it's difficult to share it in a way that they do understand, or is that? Or
Yeah,
is it
but
because
Rich, like,
I heard that as sort of like application, like you're with somebody already, but it's time for the brand to come alive.
no,
What's the challenge of you building this brand? What's the challenge, or is there no challenge?
no, I think you're right, like making it come alive, right? So it's different when you understand it here, and it's different when you understand it here.
Yep.
Right. And being able to use a brand to help people understand it here, I think is the ultimate challenge, and the challenge of my brand as well. That's what I run
Can I
into.
tell you a story?
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
I think this would be relevant to you and relevant to everyone who's listening.
Yeah.
So first impression management with the brand of how it speaks and what it stands for is tremendously important. There are certain things for a brand to make its impacts, and your impacts are some very specific impacts on some very specific types of people that you clearly see you can make, which is a great starting point. But in order to make those impacts, your brand must get credit for being an expert at something first, and then the second something, and it must get credit for having certain characteristics that if you don't have them or you don't get credit for them, you'll never make those impacts. So you got to get credit for all those things. And that requires specific language that transfers energy. And it usually has to do with what the people that you're targeting want, not what they think, or not, but what they want.
What they want.
And so,
And also not what they need, because those two things can be a challenge, right?
yes, and many bad branders or marketers want to talk to people about what they need,
Right.
but
It's about what they
want, and
Right.
then you deliver what they need. So nailing the language, it doesn't just come from, grabbing it out of thin air. It comes from writing those impacts, languaging what characteristics you must create, and languaging the expertises you must get known for. But it can't be in your jargon talk.
Mm-hmm.
If I said, oh, I'm a branding consultant and I manage the 31 iterative, replicative steps of the brand continuum, You'd be having,
Right.
you'd be falling asleep or having sexual fantasies or whatever,
Right.
going out for, to have some oxygen or anything, but listening to that.
Mhm.
But if people say, well, what do you do? And I say, well, people say that I put rocket fuel in the branding gas tank. Those words, people might say, oh my God, I need that, but they don't even know what it is. So language that transfers energy, that puts them in the zone of what they want they want more, in your case, maybe they want more faith in their health. Maybe they want their assurance that they have longevity. Maybe they want the ability to have vitality where they don't have it anymore, or they need re-energized, start to get older and things happen, right? So,
Yeah.
or if they have any illness at all, dysbiosis is crazy. People have IBS also talk about it, we're seeing TV programs. My mother was from the South, and she used to say, like, darling, we don't talk about that at the table. We talk about everything at the table.
My disease was Crohn's disease.
Oh,
An intestinal disorder. Yeah.
Anyway, so done really well, it just attracts because it baits your marketing hooks, the things you say, the images you print, the stories you tell with what they care about and what they want. So
Great.
that's rich nugget number one.
Yeah.
Rich nugget number two is intangible brand promise. The most powerful tool, particularly when something's highly technical, is to craft it in an intangible brand promise. And so the difference between, like I said, the 31 iterative set and rocket fueling and branding gas tank, few words, English word, body intelligent yoga.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've done yoga for years. What is that? I want that. To craft expertise in English words that they've never been put together that way before, that put them in the mindset that say, I need to talk with him. And so if they're an executive with certain things on their mind and certain concerns, and not even talking about them, but there's health issues or there's longevity issues or there's energy issues, vitality issues, or
Right.
you plug right into that. So those are two rich strategy nuggets that for you and what you do. We talked before and I listened to you talk, and you can go into the extreme technical detail. You'll just lose everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And well, not everybody, but
Sure.
but they won't have time and they don't have interest. But intangible brand promise hooks the heart and brings them to you. And now they'll listen.
Great. Thank you.
Wow. We've had a very special guest today, Chase Thornock, the founder of the brand What Magnificence, a speaker, counsel to executives, and many, many others who are chasing success and are getting in the way of their health in certain ways. And he found the answer through allowing his body to heal itself, praise God, with some wisdom and a lot of diligence and some pain. I understand we can't avoid the pain. So we talked about making sure that you use intangible brand promise. We talked about using language that transfers energy, designed specifically for the brand to get credit for what it must get credit for to make those impacts. Those things are absolutely rich strategy nuggets. And here they'll make all the difference as Chase puts forward. Chase, what I see for you is far beyond what you've described of helping these specific kinds of people. I believe you're a spokesperson for something way beyond that, because I know you're a man of faith, and I know you know who made the body. And so maybe this isn't about healing, or maybe this isn't about health, but you're the one. And I want to see your brand super successful. Thank you for being with us on The Brand Doctor. We'll give you ways to contact Chase Thornock in the show notes. Thank you for being with us. And remember, now is the time to define the brand you will become. This is Rich Kozak, The Brand Doctor.